Hello and welcome to anyone who's watching this video. If you've seen my channel and other things I have on there, just recently I've been looking at budget levels, and it occurred to me that at least 50% of them, or maybe even more, are inaccurate. And it got me thinking that whether they could be corrected and recalibrated, whether it was feasible or not. And me being sort of curious about things and liking to fix and repair things, I thought I'd have a look at it. It seems a waste to me that these levels are made by the tens of thousands, probably shipped halfway around the world, only to find they're inaccurate and unusable, and it just seemed a bit of a waste to me. So I was looking at whether it's feasible to recalibrate one. So I took one apart to see what was in it and how it was assembled. And I was thinking along the lines of the old spirit levels like this one, that this is an old Raybone spirit level made in Birmingham. And the vials in these were set, you can see a bit of white there. The vials in these were set in plaster of Paris, and then they had the metal added to them later. So the old boys, when I started serving my apprenticeship, they didn't like metal levels. They liked their old wooden ones because they wouldn't bend and they'd take a knock, and if they went out, they could strip them down and reset the vials in them. So I know that some of the later levels had the vials were screwed in, or they had cover plates that were screwed, and you could tinker with those a little bit. So I was wondering if it was feasible to do a modern level. Could you strip it down and have a look and make adjustments to it? So when I come to look at it, I decided to start on the end there. So the first thing I did was remove these two grommets. These prise out and they hold the end cap in, which is basically that. And these go in from either side and they hold the end cap in. So from there I could have a look down it and see how it was assembled and whether it was feasible to get to the vial. So when I looked at it, either side of the vial there's a cap that covers it. So I attempted to remove those. They are only clipping, if you can see that. They just have a clip either side. That clipped into the metalwork and just sat in there, but they were glued in and they took a lot of getting out, just those alone. So when I actually thought then I could slide the whole casing for the vial out of the end, thinking that maybe when these caps were off that would allow that to move, but that has been stuck in there with an adhesive of some description that is really tough. So I took the handles out of here, which are basically just two pieces of rubberized plastic that are clipped in. They came out relatively easily. And I had a look at it from that end. But the vial itself, this inner carrier is slid in from the end, and it looks like it's extremely tight because it's actually marked. You can see that it's actually marked the metalwork as it's been forced into place. So that's a really snug fit in there, and I've tried knocking that out with a wooden block and that is solid. So I thought this was the 45-degree vial, this end. I thought I'd tackle trying to get it out, and it is only slid in there, and I thought I could tap it out. You can see it just fits in there. But that too had been glued in, and it would not budge. I had a socket on there, I had a wooden dowel on there, and I had everything trying to tap it out, and it would not budge. So in the end, I had to get a small drill bit. It was only glued on one side here. So I got a very fine drill bit, and I drilled along it to weaken it. And in the end, I could punch the vial out. So managing to dismantle that part was difficult. So then I come to the centre bit, which is this part here. And I noticed there was what appeared to be a white cover strip, which was this. So I thought, if there's a small hole there as well, which was kind of implied to me it could be taken off. So I managed to get one off, but I had to break it off. And when I looked in there, I realised that it's actually part of the white plastic that carries the vial. It's not a cap, and there are no screws. I was hoping there'd be an adjusting screw behind it or some sort of mechanical fixing, but there isn't. So it's the white plastic is in there to reflect the light, and that's glued into this black carrier. Now that in turn goes into the level. The only way I could get that, I had two clips either side that went under the metal, and it had two legs, a bit of which you can see here, there. And it basically just slides in, those locate the width, and it clips under the metal to hold it in position, but it's done also with a resin and adhesive. You can see where it's run down the metal there. And it must be some sort of epoxy, but it is super strong, and I couldn't budge it. So in the end, I ended up cutting the vial out of it. So cutting the lugs off either end here, and then cutting along the bottom. So having looked at the way it's constructed, its accuracy relies solely on the manufacture of these plastic parts, because they're clipped together. The white's clipped into the black with the vial in it. The vial is in a resin case, and then that just clips into there and is glued in. So at the point of manufacture, they can't be adjusted. They're solely relying on the accuracy of that plastic moulding to make the level accurate. So I suppose, given that, it's inevitable that there's going to be a lot of errors, in my opinion, and that's why many of them aren't accurate, because it wouldn't take much. You only have to move that the very slightest amount and it moves the bubbles. So having that as a clip in with no adjustment kind of limits your options, really. It's either right or it isn't. This part here, the vial part, that is a smooth tube in there, in this part, and the vial just slides into it, and I'm presuming they must have a jig that holds that piece in position, and then they just rotate the vial to where they want it, and when the adhesive goes off, that's it. I did notice that one side of these, it has holes in either side, one either side, where they must be able to put something in to rotate the vial. So that must be assembled by hand into there, and they must have a tool where they can rotate the vial to get it into the level position. But I'm presuming that's before it's put into the level, not afterwards. And that kind of sums up the construction of it, really. as I said, I was hoping there'd be some sort of mechanical fixing to these, like a screw or something that I could slacken off and twist them. Having noticed there was 2 countersunk holes in it, I might have been able to rotate it and get it accurate. So there is no means of calibrating them, unfortunately. In theory, you could put this back in with some adhesive on it and true it up, but in reality I think that's probably not really feasible. And this other part here, I suppose, again, it's possible to re-glue that into position and let it dry and seal up around it and make it accurate. But as I think it would be a big ask, and I don't think it would be very strong. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I think it would be very difficult and probably not very robust after you'd done it. So that was just a quick look at a modern spirit level, how it's constructed, whether you can recalibrate it, whether it's feasible or not. And it's just my curiosity along the lines of if something's broken or inaccurate, can it be fixed? And I think the way these are constructed, the answer is probably not. Not impossible, but not really feasible. So I don't know whether anyone shares my curiosity with these sort of things, but for the few of you that do, thanks for watching. I hope it's been of some interest to a few people, and thanks for watching and take care.